Oh, here we go. I think I can sum this book up. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. This is a good book. I don't know what I think about this guy. I mean, I like his books. I love them. Sometimes I think they're overly too simplistic. Sometimes I think, he's just a good guy. I think, really, if I were to get to know him, I think he's just smoking a lot of weed and writing stuff down. But hey, we need him. He's helping a lot of people out. That's what I'm doing. I'm smoking a lot of weed. Bestseller author. Hey, go Eckhart Tolle. I want to talk to you about something he's talking about here. It's really, I think it's good. Page 226. All right. I saw this today. Sometimes we could talk about practicing certain things. And by the way, this is a really good chapter where he talks about this too will pass. So even this video, you may not like this video. You might like, dude, is he talking about Eckhart Tolle again? Like, what's he talking about? Is he talking about like non-resistance? Is he talking about like non-judgment again? I like this. It says non-resistance, non-judgments, and non-attachments are the three aspects of true freedom and enlightened living. Let's read that again. How to be happy, man. How to be happy. All this woo-woo talk. How do we do it? Here we go. Eckhart Tolle's telling us non-resistance, non-judgment, non-attachments. One of the ways that I identify truth, I'm kind of a Jesuit, and so I can find truth anywhere. I can find it in a comedy sketch. I can find truth in Eckhart Tolle. I can find truth in the Bible, nature. One of the ways that I see truth is I see its consistency. And almost every spiritual practice talks about meditation, for example. I mean, find me a true spiritual path that does not embrace meditation. You just won't find it. Another one is the theme of non-resistance. Non-resistance, and that's resisting things. So you can kind of let your imagination play with what does it look like to resist something. And you could even look at, non-judgmentalness, and you can look at, like you can say, I hate his music. His music's like, I that nigger stuff, and I'm like, no, dude, this is beautiful music, dude. It's good stuff. Don't be talking about my music. Then we can talk about non-attachments, and that's what I want to do briefly today. Man, if I could go back, in fact, I was kind of reading this morning, 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 11 says, it says, when I was a child, I was one way, but now that I'm a man, I'm letting those childish ways go. It's one of my favorite verses because, number one, is you can read, in fact, if you do anything today, go read 1 Corinthians 13. Just read it. With no judgmentalness, no resistance, no attachments to old beliefs. Just read 1 Corinthians 13 and tell me if something resonates. And I would love for you to email me. In fact, email me, tell me what resonates with you from 1 Corinthians 13. For me, verse 11, it says, when I was a child, I let childish ways go. So part of evolving, and that's what this channel and YouTube is just about evolving. And we could talk about evolving, we could talk about transformation, but a lot of times I've noticed in spiritual circles or even religious circles, when we start talking about transformation or evolving, nobody's really doing it. We're talking about it, but nobody's really doing it. And I want this channel to be really about my own evolution. And for me personally, I've learned how important what Eckhart Tolle is talking about is to avoid non-attachment. So let me talk about attachments. On the extreme, attachments could be addiction. And let me kind of break it up here. For men, usually men identify themselves with their work. If you listen to men talk, they're talking about their toys, or they're talking about their work. In fact, I say, I joke a lot of times women don't understand men are like dogs. I mean, just feed us, fuck us, and give us a Frisbee. I mean, every man has a Frisbee. Every man has a toy they like to play with. You could be out in the garage. You could be, I like motorcycles and cars. That's one reason why I like LA is all the beautiful cars. So feed us, fuck us, let us play with our Frisbee. I mean, in fact, if you have a relationship problem, if you're a woman, go back to the 3 F's from Fibonacci. Feed him, fuck him, let him play with his Frisbee. You want your guy to like you, give him a Frisbee. Women, they generally identify themselves with their relationships. So we're talking about attachments and how men usually will attach to their work, and women will usually attach with, with a relationship. So one of the ways to evolve is to not identify yourself with a label. For example, let me give you a quick story. When I graduated from college, I went to Abilene Christian University. One of my very first bosses in Abilene, Texas, was a guy named Todd. His name was Todd, not Todd. Todd. That's how he talked. Right, Todd, like that. He was Todd. No one even mentioned his last name. But Todd, He wore his high school number as a necklace, and he was 35 years old, and he was still rocking his high school number. What do you know about Todd? Number one is I didn't like him. He didn't like me, even though he was a really good boss. Sometimes you learn how to be a good boss by working with bad bosses. But Todd, he still lived in his high school days. I mean, most of his stories where he felt most comfortable was hanging out with his high school boys, talking about the pussy he was gonna get. Did you get that pussy? I got that pussy. I mean, there's a 35-year-old man here. I'm a 20, barely 20, and I'm listening to this guy talk about high school, and I'm like, dude, this guy hasn't evolved. He's not evolving. He's not letting childish ways go. Another way that we could avoid from evolving or avoid evolution, or one way that we can practice attachments and not grow, is by over-identifying with a particular job. I mentioned, men identify themselves with their jobs. Women generally, when you listen to them talk, they're talking about relationships. So one way to go is do the 24-hour test. Listen to yourself talk for 24 hours and take note of how you complete the word or the words, I am. I am. And then just take note of it. Like for example, you may just constantly be talking about how tired you are. Well, you're constantly affirming to the world you're tired. Well, guess what you're going to be? You're going to be tired. Well, another way to look at it is let's practice non-attachments and just simply going back to your original I am. So here's kind of a personal story. When I was a kid, I bonded mostly with my stepdad through comedy, through humor, and there was a lot of abuse, and I don't want to go into that story right now, but there wasn't a lot of love, but there was a lot of humor. And I particularly use humor as a way of making up for the lack of love. So one of the things that I have always done and I've always enjoyed is I've always loved bringing humor into situations, and particularly stressful situations. And I've looked at a lot of my jobs. One of the things that has made me successful in my jobs was simply that I was a communicator who loved people, who liked to make people laugh. Period. Into discussion. I'm not saying I'm a good comedian. I'm not saying I'm going to be world famous. It's simply I love humor, I love people, and I'm a communicator. So when I went to the mortgage business, when I started my own business, I ran a finance company for 10 years. I walked around and I used the words, I am a mortgage person. So if you would have met me back in Austin, Texas, I would have said, hey, I'm John, I'm a mortgage guy. I would literally say I'm a mortgage guy. The thing is I was identifying with a role that maybe or maybe God did not want to use long term. You know where I'm going with this. Some of the things that prevent evolution and growth is that men will identify with a job or a role and they'll forget the original essence. The original essence. So here you go. For 24 hours, I want you to think about what makes you truly, truly happy. And I'm going to end this video because I need to get going with my walk. But there's just not a lot of truly happy people around. In fact, one thing I've noticed, particularly even among women, is you'll rarely meet a truly happy, beautiful woman. You just don't see that. Nor will you meet a truly happy man. What's interesting is we buy all these books, Eckhart Tolle, maybe you're even watching this video because you want happiness. But here's the thing is, the way to happiness, people have been talking about for years. It's simply learning to love, being loving, practicing love, and specifically practicing not judging, not resisting, not attaching. And this video is just about attachments. I can talk about judgmentalism and non-resistance later as I'm learning about them. But today, go back to your original I am, your original I am. What makes you truly happy, void of the label, void of anything, and start there and tell me what you come up with. Because here's the point, when we go back to our original I ams, and here's a little secret from me. When I was a kid, I just loved humor, and I loved happiness, and I loved people. That was it. It was only later in life when I went to college where I was told I had to wear labels. And then I became the label. And the more I became the label, the less happy I became. But if I would have stayed with the original, as I'm just a communicator, you know what would have happened? I still would have been in the mortgage business. But if I would have owned who I really was earlier, I would have left the mortgage business earlier versus going through some of the last 3 years, which was really, really, really hard. So owning your essence is not just about happiness. It's about avoiding bullshit too. Because man, I so over-identified with I am a mortgage guy that long after God was done with that title, I held on to it. I was attached to that title. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. 10 minutes, man. If I can bring you some wisdom and humor, maybe some good music, good books. You guys have a great day. Email me, americano417@gmail.com. You know the drill. Maybe there's something that resonated with you. Maybe something you didn't like. Maybe I like his song. It's not stuck. And my husband's name is Ton. He's a good guy. Fuck God. Anyway, you guys be good. Email me, americano417@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Email americano417@gmail.com. Oh, also, if you run an organization and you realize that your organization is made of people, maybe you're at Abilene Christian University, maybe you are in LA, San Diego, doesn't matter. Maybe you realize that people be better at their jobs if they're attached to their essence. You need some help with that. I'd love to come speak to your organization. americano417@gmail.com. I'll bring some humor, I'll bring some jokes. Some of them might even be funny. Other ones won't. But I'm going to talk about spiritual matters. americano417@gmail.com. Wouldn't it be funny if I went back to like a Christian university and said, hey guys, let me tell you what life's really like. Let me tell you what I've learned. That'd be interesting. All right, guys, email me, americano417@gmail.com. You guys have a good day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your non-attachment day.